Hi, and welcome to the third part of this online course on how to live a free and committed relationship. Well, the basics of how to live a free and committed relationships. And especially right now in what am I accountable for, co-accountable for. And so in the previous video, I was saying that you are consenting to two things when you are in a relationship. First, you are consenting to be in that relationship or not. It's your choice. And then you are co-responsible of the nature and the quality of the relationship. So what am I 100% responsible of in a relationship? So again, let's have my two hands, which are very nice to me. What are they responsible in their relationship? The left hand at each end of the relationship is 100% responsible of how we feel, see, act, do, say, perceive the relationship. The right hand is 0% responsible of how the left hand perceive, sees, do, act, feel at each end of the relationship. And vice versa. The left hand is not responsible for what happens at the end of the relationship of my right hand. And so my right hand is 100% responsible for everything that happens to the end of this relationship. So if the left hand is late and that my right hand gets angry, my right hand is 100% responsible for getting angry. What my left hand is responsible is for being late. Being late is also not a fact. The fact is we had an appointment at 10 and you are here at 10:05, 5 minutes after what was expected. So it's his responsibility if he's angry. I know it can be challenging. As a child, I was not responsible if my dad got angry if I had bad grades. I'm not responsible if my partner gets angry if I cheat on her or she cheats on me. I'm not responsible if the salesman who takes a long time with a person at the desk is not responsible for you feeling impatient or angry because he's taking too much time. That's your perception of reality. So it can be challenging. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me. How does it feel to know that you cannot make anyone unhappy? You're not responsible for their happiness, and you cannot be responsible for their happiness, and you don't have the power to make them happy or unhappy. How do you feel about that? For some people, it's very freeing. You don't have the power to either make them happy or unhappy. And if you have doubts about what's happening, and if you're doubting what I'm saying, let's talk. I know it can be challenging to hear that your partner is not responsible for you being angry when he cheats on you, because the fact is you had sex with someone else. But for some people, it's like, oh my God, I've been waiting 10 years for you to do that. Or, oh my God, I also had sex with someone else. Now we can talk about it. Or, how was it? Actually, I'm kind of feeling turned on and excited by that. So you don't know, and you don't owe the other person that. What you owe to the other person is through the quality of the relationship. If you had an agreement that you were never going to sleep with someone else, then yes, that person broke an agreement. And that's what he did. He broke an agreement. And so it's up to you to see what you do with the fact that that person broke an agreement. How you feel about the fact that that person broke an agreement is up to you. For example, I was talking about being late. I used to be mad when people were getting late. And then I got loose around it. I was like, okay, it's just that person is doing something else. Now, how can I take care of myself during that? And there's different ways. And I can be like, hey, it's very important for me that you are on time. Can you be on time next time? Either the person says yes or no, but it's their responsibility to also listen and be mindful of the quality of the relationship. If it's important for me, it should become important and for the other person. It doesn't mean that the other person has to do what the person says, but you should listen and be like, okay, that's important for you. I'm going to say yes or I'm going to say no. And if that person keeps on being late, then either you tell them, okay, I'll meet you at 11 and arrive at 11:15, or you will tell them to arrive 15 minutes early, or whatever. You can scheme stuff if you know that's what it is. Or, and that's what I did with one of my friends, was always late. And I was like, okay, From now on, if you don't warn me half an hour before that you're going to be late, I'm going to choose to leave or not in the first 15 minutes, and I'm not going to warn you. Yes, there was a little bit of spite in that, but it's like, hey, I am setting my boundaries. And when you set a boundary, it doesn't have to be fair. It is your boundary. But to set a boundary, and I can expand on something a lot more later, the other person has to hear the boundary, agree to the boundary, and the consequences. That aside, but if you have questions, ask me. I'd be happy to talk about boundaries. It's a subject that I love. There's a lot of bullshit and people using often sometimes the fact that, okay, I'm not responsible for how you feel with what I'm doing in a relationship. And like, oh, I'm not responsible for the fact that you get angry if I cheat on you or if we sleep with someone else. Saying that and doing that is very manipulative. It's not because I'm not responsible for the other person that I shouldn't care about how I feel or the other person feels. Oh, okay, you feel hurt about the fact that I arrived late. Okay. For me, if I'm someone who is committed in my relationship, I'll be like, hey, what can I do? I'm sorry, I didn't know. Is there anything I can do next time, or what can I do? They'll be like, hey, you're responsible for being late and blah, blah, blah. It's true. But also, can you care about the fact that he's a human with his trauma and with his neuroses and with his own beliefs, and accept it? So the same way, for me, someone is like, okay, I don't care about you being late. It's kind of like they're facing one another, and it's like, okay, I don't care. And so you're turning your back. And that's not nice. And most of the people were talking on the other side, but like, you did that, you. And so you talk on the other side of the relationship, at the other end of the relationship, instead of being like, hey, when you did that, I felt that way. And right now, I don't know what to do, or I need a moment to take space. But it's very important, and we go back to the world of ABC, what happened, what really happened. For example, I remember one time had a meeting with my girlfriend of the time, and we were supposed to leave at 12. And I arrived at 12, and at 12 she was just strolling around in the room naked, and nothing was ready, and a suitcase wasn't ready, and I got mad. I was like, she doesn't like me, she doesn't respect my time, she doesn't care about me, she's a bitch. And I was like, and I just stormed out of the room and almost left. And I got angry, I went to the back, and I came back. The fact was, my partner was strolling in the room, and her suitcase wasn't ready. That's it. It doesn't mean she doesn't care about me, it doesn't mean that she doesn't love me, it doesn't mean that she doesn't respect me. It means that right now I need to do an action to take care first of my emotion and how to take care of myself. For example, recently, something kind of like that happened, and I've seen how much I've grown. I was talking with my partner, we were supposed to leave in half an hour, and she was doing something else. It was like a dinner party, and so she needed to take a shower and to dress. And I was like, hey, so we're leaving in half an hour. How much time do you need to be ready? And she's like, I need half an hour. So I was like, okay, so then can you stop what you're doing and start getting ready? She's like, oh, I just need to finish that. I said, no, please, it's really important for me to be on time. If you want, I can finish what you're doing. And she was like, okay. She just kept doing a little few things. I was like, I started helping. I was like, please go. And so I started cleaning and finishing the stuff so she could be on time. And when I went back to the room, she went to the other side of the house to start cleaning something else. Part of me was like, I had that emotion impulse. And I was like, chill. Now you know how to do it. So I breathed into it and I just went to her and I was like, hey, you said that you will go back inside to do that. Can you do that now? And she started arguing. I was like, no, I don't like it. You said you would do something. You're not doing it. Just please go and do it. That's it. Own your commitment to me. And that's it. And sometimes you have to be firm. Sometimes you have to be tender. It depends of the moment and the stuff. Sometimes I'm like, hey, what's going on? Sometimes I'm like, hey, that doesn't work for me. If you have any question around that, don't hesitate to write. In this world, and like we talk a lot about burnout and stuff, your boss is not responsible for your burnout. The society is not responsible for your burnout. And to relieve the pressure, you're not guilty of anything. What I'm putting a light on is, what are you responsible for? And you are responsible at your side of the relation for anything you feel, do, say, or perceive at your side of the relationship. But you're not guilty of it. First, because you haven't learned, because the world doesn't work like that, and because that's not how the society behave in that way. And on that, there's a very big difference between the world of the law, justice, and the law of consciousness. And me, I'm bringing you into the world of consciousness. But of course, there's the world of law. The world of justice is very different because there's a perpetrator, there's a victim, and it's made that way to protect people who cannot defend themselves and to have a framework so people can live together. And it's very different. What I'm leading to is how to take responsibility regardless of the external conditions, to illustrate that and to show that there is no link between what happens, almost no link, but let's say there's no link between the outside world and what happened in the outside world and how you perceive it. The two examples. One, you're in a subway and the subway stops. You have 300 people and you have 300 people who will react in a different manner. So from the same event, you have three different reactions. Some will be happy because they can finish their TV on the TV show on their cell phone, or they can finish reading something, or they can finish their song, or they're having an amazing time with someone they just met on the subway, and they're like, oh my God, I can keep on talking to you. Or someone will be pissed, or someone will be sad, or someone will be angry. But the subway just stopped. That's the fact. The rest, how you perceive it, and all the story you can say about the subway and how it happens often and blah, 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 stories. And it's your choice to follow those stories to make you either happy or miserable. And that's something we can also talk about. Second example, if you have doubt that the outside world is not responsible for how you feel inside, you watch a movie. You can have 2,000-3,000 people in the same room watching one movie. And you cannot argue that it's the same day, the same hour, the same alignment of planet, the same year, the same sound. Like the difference in the geographical difference won't make that much of an impression on how you will perceive the movie. And regardless of all of that, you will have 5,000 different reactions. Some will laugh, some will be happy, some will be angry, some will love it, some will hate it. So the movie is just a movie. How you perceive it is based on you, your story, your history, what you believe in the world. And that's where it's sometimes triggering and challenging for a lot of people to take back their responsibility and their accountability in their lives. Because once you can't blame the outside world, you cannot complain. It's a failure for your ego and your desire to be right. And that failure is probably making some of you might be challenged by what I'm saying, angry at what I'm saying. And the same stuff, at my side of the relationship, I'm just sharing information. And then you receive it the way you want. And I'm not responsible for this the way you want. But as I was saying, if you have question, I'm caring about the way you feel and how you perceive what I'm saying. So if you have question, please ask them. But before asking me this question, for every example, if you doubt that if you think that the outside world is responsible, who feel this way? What are the facts? Who is angry? Who doesn't believe in that? Who didn't express their needs? Who didn't voice their boundaries? And see what's happening and who's accountable for what's happening in that situation. Like the wind. The wind is an energy. Words are an energy. And events are neutral. They are neutral, but they carry an energy. And of course, it's very different if I yell at you, if I smile at you, if I am angry and I'm putting pressure and I'm going out. I am sending different vibrations. So that's my responsibility at my side of the relationship. Which vibration, which energy, which quality do I send in the relationship? And then I'm co-responsible with that with you. But I'm not responsible for how you perceive that on your side of the relationship. And to give an example that I love, it's about tennis and how not to use all of tools to manipulate one another. Because let me tell you, I have done that a lot. Every tool, and that's just a warning for every tool of self-development or spirituality or tantra, whatever field, is just a tool. If it doesn't lead you to more solution, respect, and love, then you're using it to be right and to manipulate the other person. That's it. So be mindful of that when you learn about that. And so, tennis, you have Nadal and Djokovic playing together. And for them, and to go back to the quality and the nature of the relationship, they're the nature of the relationship, they're a professional relationship. And the quality of the relationship is based on how well they hit the ball and how challenging it is to one another. For example, it's a lot more nurturing for Nadal to beat Djokovic on when Djokovic is at his best. So it's nurturing for the two of them to challenge and push one another, because that's what they strive for. That's where they love seeing their limits. But if Nadal plays with me and plays in the same way with Djokovic, it's not adapted to the situation. And he's not responsible for the fact that I will not have fun, and I might be angry or pissed that he's just like throwing balls everywhere. But maybe for someone, it's like, oh my God, that's how fast. And he will be happy that Nadal is playing that way. But if me and Nadal in the relationship, we're supposed to have like a game, and I can play with him and do some exchange and do some rallies together, then Nadal is responsible to lower his level to mine, because I can try to go up a bit, but not to his level. And if he's like, okay, that's you, then he's not caring. And caring is important. So it's not because I'm not responsible for how the other person feel and do and react, and it's not because the other person isn't responsible or accountable for what I do, that we shouldn't care about one another. So if you have any question on that, please write me a message. And the next step is how to communicate and how to be mindful of all of that in our relationships.